Tim Colbert from Lansing, Michigan writes in, now that Triple H is COO of the company, who had a better career, Bret Hart or Triple H? Well, I don't know that Triple H is done with his career in the ring, because the guy, his whole career, he's ridden the coattails of others as a come-up, and he might just book himself in a WrestleMania match. So, I don't know. But as far as their careers as of right now, well, Bret's still probably complaining that he's the best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be, and how he got screwed at Montreal, and how Goldberg kicked him in the face and ended his career. And so, you know, these guys, Bret Hart, his whole career, you hear him complaining. And I don't know that if that was his gimmick, if that was his thing, or if it was a reality. If from talking to people, that's just how he was. It wasn't a gimmick at all. And Triple H, I mean, he did some things in WCW, and he worked the ring, but he wasn't seasoned. So WCW let him go, and they saw a spark in him. He actually did some cardio a lot and shed some of his muscle when he first came to the WWE as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and he was a valet for Shawn Michaels. And they, you know, and the guys backstage were interested in him. X-Pac and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, they welcomed him into the clique. But when you watch the whole Madison Square Garden incident, I think you see Kevin Nash and Shawn Michaels and Scott Hall out there, and then there's Triple H. He's always like the other guy. So I don't know if his career is still over. I mean, who did he actually fight? Did he have a wrestling match that anybody can remember? And personally, as far as Bret Hart goes, WrestleMania 3, I think they fought against the British Bulldogs, and that was a classic match for tag teams back then. It was really classic. But both these guys, Bret Hart, and I hate to bring up this documentary where he's backstage and he's asking Shawn, were you in this? And Shawn Michaels lies in his face and says, oh, no, I didn't do it. And he goes to WCW and he does the same thing. I get screwed everywhere I go. Well, they put the United States Championship belt on you right when you got there. Bret Hart's whole thing is he was always in the shadows of Hulk Hogan. When Hulk Hogan left, did his movies, he came back, he couldn't negotiate a contract with Vince McMahon, so he went to WCW, and Bret Hart was next man up, and he couldn't cut it. And he had more success, to me, in his career, you know, maybe as tag teams. You know, when Jimmy Hart was there, and, you know, they were heels, and they went against Beefcake and Valentine, and, you know, then they were turned faces, and they go back heels, and, you know, I think Bret Hart's, here's something. Remember the King of the Ring, I think it was, or it might have been the Royal Rumble, when Bad News Brown, you know, just kicks him out of the ring, and Bad News Brown wins, and Bret Hart comes in, and he tries to, go back and look at this, he tries to break this, like, 6-foot trophy in half, and he can't do it. And I think that was a defining moment of him being in singles competition, but it just didn't pan out. Triple H, I don't even remember a match that he was in. Maybe the match where he fought The Undertaker the first time. The second time, he fought The Undertaker when Shawn Michaels was a referee. And the only reason why that was good is because Shawn Michaels was in it and Undertaker was doing all the work. But he never did anything. He got injured and came back. The crowd went crazy. He had the sledgehammer with him. But he didn't quite cut it. At best, these guys are B-rated wrestlers. Even though they were main eventers, they were still B wrestlers. That's why I was appalled when, you know, Daniel Bryan comes out and Stephanie McMahon and Triple H and Vince McMahon says you're at best a B. I remember a promo, The Rock was going back and forth with Triple H, and Triple H was saying he wanted the belt from The Rock. The Rock was saying, I'm not going to, you know, you don't deserve a title shot. Because at the time, Triple H really wasn't, he wasn't over. And Shawn Michaels says, in his comment. I think this was one of Ruckers with the corporation. Shawn Michaels says, "Oh no, he's not a champion. He just hangs with them," which was a shot at him. And so when Triple H comes out and he talks about Edge never sold any money, Edge, a rated R superstar, never brought anything in. You know, he talks about these guys that used to wrestle that didn't measure up. But you know what, Triple H, you never measured up. You know, you got with the boss's daughter. That's why you're where you are now. You book yourself in matches, and you put yourself over. You give yourself the belt. Then you bring your boys back, Kevin Nash, and you put a title on him. You bring Shawn Michaels back. You put a title on him. You have a rivalry with him and make sure he has a belt. The Clique had never left. As far as I'm concerned, it's still going on because the New Age Outlaws, they have the belts right now, and Triple H put that on them. Then he brings his boy Kevin Nash back to be in the Royal Rumble. I mean, this guy does nothing but ride the coattails of others. I mean, he was with DX and he rode Shawn Michaels' coattails, and the only reason why he took over DX was because Shawn Michaels got hurt with his back injury. He was next in line. He did, yeah, the angles that he did were pretty good. Marrying Stephanie McMahon, breaking up the marriage with Tess. They go to Vegas and they get married. Oh, that was good. But he didn't do anything to get him over as an A-lister. Yeah, they're going to put him in the Hall of Fame, of course. I mean, he's going to take over the company. But Triple H, he's at best to be. And Bret Hart, I mean, what can you say about this guy? This guy does nothing but complain the whole entire time. He puts his dad all old and decrepit and halfway walking. We're supposed to feel sorry for him because his dad can't walk and talk? I mean, come on. This guy did nothing but complain his whole entire career. In fact, when he was in singles competition, Jim the Anvil Neidhart and the manager Jimmy Hart had to do all the talking. They had to put glasses on, for Pete's sake, because Bret was too shy to even look in the camera and cut a promo. I mean, the only thing this guy did was got screwed in Montreal. And if you look at that Iron Man match with he and Shawn Michaels, which was a classic match, if you watch the last 10 minutes, with the whole entire 60 minutes of that match, all Bret did was do submission moves. Who wants to see that? And Shawn Michaels sparks up. Bret Hart and Triple H, I'd give their careers maybe a B-. If I were to put them on a scale from 1 to 10, they'd be a 5.5. I'm not going to give them that much. They're not legends of wrestling to me. They're B-. I'll give them a C+. They're average.